Hello, my name is Scuria-Herman, and today I'll be checking out this video from TED, Animations of Unseeable Biology. Now, this is not the first time I've seen TED or TED Ed or TED Talk related content on this channel. And on the topic of the hero's journey, I talked extensively about the specific formative TED Talk that I watched when I was young about the hero's journey. So it's interesting to revisit this because I don't believe I've seen this before, and I don't know if you guys are gonna like this. Usually you guys don't really like when I step out of my area, but I thought that this is interesting and I would want to check it out on my own anyway, so let's see how it does.
So let's begin. This is DNA in its classic double helix form, and it's from X-ray crystallography, so it's an accurate model of DNA. If we unwind the double helix and unzip the two strands, you see these things that look like teeth. Those are the letters of genetic code, the 25,000 genes you've got written in your DNA. This is what they typically talk about, the genetic code. This is what they're talking about. But I want to talk about a different aspect of DNA science, and that is the physical nature of DNA. And it's these two strands that run in opposite directions for reasons I can't go into right now, but they physically
I was about to say,
run
I think that one of the more interesting parts of DNA and DNA research is the fact that I think since the discovery of DNA in the human body, it's always had the helix shape, I think. And it's interesting that that was decided, and it's a scientific fact. Just because, as he's saying in this, and I think I will have to cut out the first few minutes because I was just sitting here just watching it just because it was so interesting. But if you want to check that out, I recommend going to the video itself. I don't like just putting in long sections of video where I just say nothing and have no reaction. But it is interesting how it's so decided and so set in stone that it has this helix shape and that it is scientifically true. I think that's very interesting and it's very cool. Just because it's the science of shapes. I don't know, it's just really interesting to me. I don't know if that's interesting to anybody else, but yeah.
in opposite directions, which creates a number of complications for your living cells, as you're about to see, most particularly when DNA is being copied. And so what I'm about to show you is an accurate representation of the actual DNA replication machine that's occurring right now inside your body, at least 2002 biology. So DNA is entering the production line from the left-hand side, and it hits this collection, this miniature biochemical machines that are pulling apart the DNA strand and making an exact copy. So DNA comes in, it hits this blue donut-shaped structure, and it's ripped apart into its two strands. One strand can be copied directly, and it can be seen spooling off down to the bottom there. But things aren't so simple for the other strand because it must be copied backwards. So it's thrown out repeatedly in these loops and copied one section at a time.
I think this is also interesting because it's a time capsule of, what do you say, 2002? This is uploaded 13 years ago, which means 2012. I assume this was from 2002 because it was in 2012. It would be weird to go 10 years back for CGI technology. But it's very interesting to see like computer generation of this time period because it's very different from what we have now. I think like even now we've progressed so much in 20 years that it's also because of the quality of the video. But it's very interesting to see how much we've progressed because this is talking about how we can't see this level of scale on the human body and we have to use this computer generated technology to image it. But now it's so commonplace and it's so advanced that this even looks archaic when this was a marvel of technology at the time. And it is still marvelous. I mean, looking at this part right here,
so it's thrown out repeatedly.
It is very interesting because like I was just trying to figure this whole thing out because it's such a complex system, but it's so complex, but it looks so deformed. This is going to be a weird tangent. There was a while where I thought my heart was like deformed because I think I call it like my malformed heart because like I'd be examining my heartbeat and it felt like it was beating weird in my chest. And I felt like, oh, it's just like weirdly shaped and it's going to cause health problems one day. I've never found out if it is or if it will. that's besides the point. But when looking at a heart, it's not just like, the classic shape, which at the end of the day, I don't even know where this came from, because a heart looks nothing like this. It looks more like that. And I think that this kind of thing, this symbol of perfection actually being this in the body and executing every function that it can with its valves and aorta and such, because it's this shape, I think that that's very interesting, and that's something to think about when looking at organs and such. Because my heart probably isn't malformed, but it looks like it should be. I bet I've never seen my heart. I think I'd be in a very bad situation if I did. But yeah, because like this looks like all weird and like an aberration. It looks all deformed and complex and a weird structure, because also we're looking at like this from a human lens, and we're looking at like human structures that are all like rigid and straight and functional, but that's not what it looks like on the biological scale. So it's interesting to just see this and see something so perfect and functional that in our perception wouldn't be. I just think that's interesting.
In these loops and copied one section at a time, creating 2 new DNA molecules. Now, you have billions of this machine right now whirring away inside you, copying your DNA with exquisite fidelity. It's an accurate representation, and it's pretty much at the correct speed for what it's occurring inside you. But I've left out error correction and a bunch of other things.
It's also funny how he's saying he left stuff out. Because, again, as I was saying, this is very complicated. Also, error correction, like he's saying, is very important in the human body, and is why you're not dead right now, essentially. And it's so interesting because I did not expect, because when also, I think I'm used to seeing like solar diagrams and solar like simulations, because that's all sped up, because obviously the Earth is rotating very slowly, but at the same time it's rotating very fast, and it depends, it's orbiting slowly but rotating very fast, but it's orbiting slowly on a cosmic perspective. I think it's orbiting pretty fast on a on an individual perspective, but it's all sort of things like that. I think it's orbiting at like 70 miles an hour, I'm pretty sure, maybe higher. I read that somewhere at some point, but yeah, it's rotating 70 miles an hour. It's one of the two, but it's just because speed is always adjusted, whether it's slowed down or sped up on solar simulations. It's so interesting to me that this is not sped up, that this is the rate at which it occurs in the body.
Thank you.
I think that's so interesting, because it feels like it should be sped up or slowed down. But again, this is the perfect machine.
This was work from a number of years ago. Thank you. This is work from a number of years ago, but what I want to show you next is updated science.
That is 2002, and then this is 2012.
It's updated technology. So again, we begin with DNA, and it's jiggling and wiggling there because of the surrounding supermolecules, which are
that is 2012 CGI.
DNA is about 2 nanometers across, which is really quite tiny. But in each one of your cells, each strand of DNA is about 30 to 40 million nanometers long. So to keep the DNA organized, to regulate access to the genetic code, it's wrapped around these purple proteins. I've labeled them purple here. It's packaged up and bundled up. All of its field of view is a single strand of DNA.
Oh my
This huge
God.
package of DNA is called a chromosome. And we'll come back to chromosomes in a minute. We're pulling out, we're zooming out through a nuclear pore, which is sort of the gateway to this compartment that holds all the DNA, called the nucleus. All of this field of view is about a semester's worth of biology, and I've got 7 minutes, so we're not going to be able to do that today. No, I'm being told no.
It's so interesting. Sorry. It's so interesting that that's an unmeasurable amount of distance. And there's so much down there. And it's like, it's not even like the smallest conceivable measurement. I think he said less than a nanometer. And a nanometer, again, less than the smallest ever usable system of measurement in everyday life. I just think it's so cool. It's just like so much packed in there.
This is the way a living cell looks down a light microscope, and it's been filmed under time lapse, which is why you can see it moving. The nuclear envelope breaks down. These sausage.
And again, we're seeing it sped up, like you just said, it's time lapse. So it is interesting that that other simulation, it was in exact time, because it's so rare to see that.
Shaped things are the chromosomes, and we'll focus on them. They go through this very striking motion that is focused on these little red spots. When the cell feels it's ready to go, it rips apart the chromosome. One set of DNA goes to one side, the other side gets the other set of DNA, identical copies of DNA, and then the cell splits down the middle. And again, you have billions of cells undergoing this process right now inside of you.
Mitosis.
Now we're going to rewind and just focus on the chromosomes and look at its structure and describe it. So again, here we are at that equator moment. The chromosomes line up, and if we isolate just one chromosome, we're going to pull it out and have a look at its structure. So this is one of the biggest molecular structures that you have, at least as far as we've discovered so far, inside of us. So this is a single chromosome, and you have two strands of DNA in each chromosome. One is bundled up into one sausage, the other strand is bundled up into the other sausage. These things that look like whiskers that are sticking out from either side are the dynamic scaffolding of the cell. They're called microtubules, but the name's not so important. But what we're going to focus on is this red region. I've labeled it red here, and it's the interface between the dynamic scaffolding and the chromosomes. It is obviously central to the movement of the chromosomes, but we have no idea really, as to how it's achieving that movement. We've been studying this thing called the kinetochore for over 100 years with intense study, and we're still just beginning to discover what it's all about. It is made up of about 200 different types of proteins, thousands of proteins in total. It is a signal broadcasting system. It broadcasts through chemical signals, telling the rest of the cell when it's ready, when it feels that everything is aligned and ready to go for the separation of the chromosomes. It is able to couple onto the growing and shrinking microtubules. It's transiently, it's involved with the growing of the microtubules, and it's able to transiently couple onto them. It's also a tension sensing system. It's able to feel when the cell is ready, when the chromosome is correctly positioned. It's turning green here because it feels that everything is just right. And you'll see that there's one little last bit that's still remaining red. And it's walked away down the microtubules. That is the signal broadcasting system sending out the stop signal, and it's walked away. I mean, it's that mechanical. It's molecular clockwork. This is how you work at the molecular scale. So with a little bit of molecular eye candy, we've got kinesins, which are the orange ones. They're little molecular courier molecules walking one way. And here are the dynein. They're carrying the orange ones.
Kinesins. You know what? This is such a cool concept. I could think of so many stories about this because there's so many like personification of animals. What if like a kinesin is personified? Because look at this little guy run.
Little molecular courier molecules walking one way. And here are the dynein. They're carrying that broadcast.
Dude, wouldn't you want to see a story about that? I don't know if I'm the one to write it, but I think that no matter what, I think it's so cool. I think that could be a really cool kid's story, especially because it's such a highly advanced, like, scientific concept. The personification of a kinesin would be so cool. And then these guys, you said the dynein?
Molecular courier molecules walking one way. And here are the dynein. They're carrying that broadcasting system, and they've got their long legs so they can step around obstacles and so on. So again, this is all derived accurately from the science. The problem is we can't show it to you any other way. Exploring at the frontier of science, at the frontier of human understanding is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Discovering this stuff is certainly a pleasurable incentive to work in science. But most medical researchers, this is just discovering this stuff is simply steps along the path to the big goals, which are to eradicate disease, to eliminate the suffering and the misery that disease causes, and to lift people out of poverty. Thank you.
Wow, yeah. 2011. Like, it was right behind me the entire time. 2011. Okay. Sorry. All right, that was really interesting. I'm not sure if you guys will like that necessarily, but I sure did. Let me know if you want me to see more of these, because I'd be happy to if you guys would be happy to. But anyway, that's going to be all for me for today. So until next time, adieu.